Welcome to our webinar, SEO optimization for online marketplaces and how to improve your organic traffic and UX on your site. I am Sigrid, and I'm the global marketing manager for Bezeto. As you guys probably know, we work with online marketplaces to improve the quality of their user-generated content on the sites through AI and human expertise. And that's obviously a challenge that we have been working with for quite some years now. I have Oliver with me, who's the real star of the show.
Hi,
yes, hi. He has been you have been in charge of the junk mail SEO strategy for 10 years. And I just want to stress that for 10 years, you have worked with SEO for online marketplaces. So for anyone here, I don't think you get someone who is more experienced in this area. And before we dive into this webinar, I'm just curious to hear what is it that makes you so enthusiastic about SEO as a topic?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, firstly, I'm just looking at the attendees tab. It's amazing to see that grows so much, and people that I know. Hi. But yes, I think it started for me really around 2007. At that point, really, at first it was volume that got me the most interested. We found websites working on was it wasn't really optimized for SEO. We didn't really think about SEO. Switched that on, and the volume of traffic that we received was just phenomenal. I mean, the next few years, the growth rate was just through the roof. But then over that, after following SEO, following the trends, looking at what's happening, SEO is it's really, and what Google is doing is it's kind of following UX. What the user wants, and that's really what's kind of driven my passion about SEO. It's all about the user and how to make the user feel more comfortable on your websites. It's not really about optimizing for the search engines. It's really about doing what's right for the user, and that's what Google wants us to do. And if we can do that right, we'll get the traffic in from search.
Yeah, I mean, that's been kind of the trend with Google, right? Be good to your users, be interesting, and then they will come to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think most of the people we have joining us today are SEO experts themselves, so they are probably quite familiar with the basics of SEO. But before we jump into it, just so everyone's on the kind of the same page, could you briefly talk about the three types of SEO that you think are really important to online marketplaces?
Well, essentially, I mean, there are three types of SEO in general overall. There's technical SEO, on-page SEO. There's off-page SEO, which is really about the reputation of the sites. And then there is content marketing. That's become a new stable of SEO, and that's really about keywords, about how to optimize for that in search. I mean, that's really what SEO is all about. But content marketing now has become really a pillar on its own in SEO. And the more we do, and I think in a marketplace specifically, that's really relevant because of the classifications that exist. And I think that's the content team need to kind of take control of that in the marketplace and build the keywords around classifications.
Great. So now that we have the foundations in place, let's turn to some of the specific areas where marketplace SEO experts, like our listeners, should focus. So what would you say is the first step when trying to optimize online marketplace SEO?
Yeah, I think it has to begin with the categories, with the classifications. That's really where the most potential is. And it depends really what to do with, well, your markets, but it's the categories, building that out, doing the right keyword research, finding out what it is that your users are looking for with categories, and that's drilling down quite deep into the category. One can't really look at sort of top level categories anymore. I mean, already we've gone beyond motoring, looking at vehicles, models and things like that. But one has to drill down into facets, into categories. And it's all based on the market research or keyword research that one does.
So could you give me an example of how you would set this up for a category?
Yeah, I think it's I think most marketplaces are pretty well established already, and it's a matter of looking at the category lists that one has, putting those into a keyword research tool, and expanding it from there. Looking at what are the alternatives, what is it that users are looking for, and for example, when it comes to cars, one has to go beyond just categories. It's all across the board, whether it's cars or whatever it is, but including regions, and sort of putting that together into keywords that make sense, that a user will actually enter when they go into Google and do a search.
So you have had an example for me when we went for this lunch that we did
Mm.
together, where I got really excited about this.
Yep.
And you were talking about iPhones and how when a new iPhone came out, then you might have to look at adding a category for iPhone 8 or 9 or 10 or wherever we are in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, iPhone was a great example. It's a new technology. I mean, that's not so new anymore, but it came out some years ago. And then looking, there's a lot of talk online about iPhones. We realized that people are going to be buying them. They're going to want to sell them. So then looking at expanding our category list to include iPhones. Now it's going beyond just the iPhone. One has to look at the model of the iPhone, making sure that we've got sort of facets or subcategories that cover that as well. An iPhone 5 or 6 or 7, etc. And it's a matter of just keeping track, staying up to date with what's going on search and what are the keywords that are being used, and making sure that gets translated back into a category structure.
So there's a lot of research going into it that isn't just specifically keyword research, but also keeping up to date on technology and global trends.
No, definitely. I think keeping up to date with news, what's happening, what's happening in the marketplaces. Normally there'll be some of the staff that will have specific interest in some of the categories and a lot of knowledge, and sort of being able to tap into that. Mustn't forget the customer. The customer is key. Customer will know their products and what works, and be able to give you comments on what doesn't fit their products in your category structure. You can take that back and put it back into the keyword research tool and see does it make sense? Are there searches? Is there volume that will match, and build that categories lists accordingly.
So there's a lot of work about building up your keywords around your categories. What about the customer journey? Does that play in somehow as well?
It does most definitely. Like the customer journey, every user is on a different path. There's a different stage of where they're going to transact, or when they're going to transact. I think customer journey sort of roughly translates into sort of search intent. Customers can be in a sort of explorative stage. They can be the stage where they're ready to convert, and search intent kind of mirrors that to most extents. Looking at the keywords that users have in mind, and for example, if they're adding a for sale at the end of the keyword, or buy in front of the keyword, then you know that those are users that are looking to purchase. They're in that final stage of the funnel, and bring them into into the relevant pages on your site. And that's ranking. In my opinion, that's ranking your optimizing your category pages or results listings to match those kind of intents. Going beyond that, one can look at what else are customers looking for. If they're going for reviews, and they're in a different stage. Those kind of users are still valuable to your end goals, but they're not necessarily going to be converting users right now. But you can bring them into your funnels and hopefully convert them at a later stage.
Great, and I
yeah.
As a keyword, you want to have that on the result page for iPhones, obviously, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's that's sort of where it falls back into the technical SEO, getting it into the right structures, the meta keywords, etc., the meta tags, having that titles and H1 headers, etc. Those kind of keywords is where you want it to be featured, and that's the strength of your categories. Your categories are completely in your control. You can change them as you need to, and that's, I know that is one of the challenges I've heard a lot, is that being able to kind of change categories on the fly is not always so easy, but that's what you need to do. You need a agile development team that's able to handle that, and then they've got the right structures in place so that categories can quickly and easily 301 redirected to where they need to be. And I think it's a matter of watching those categories, watching the keywords and the trends in the market, and being able to make those adjustments on the fly as they're needed.
Great, and so this was kind of the buyer journey, but what about sellers? I'm assuming you can optimize for that as well, because on online marketplaces, obviously, it's kind of the chicken and the egg issue. You need to be able to have your both supply and demand, so you want to also catch sellers and drive them to your site.
No, definitely. I think it's understanding what are the keywords that our sellers are using. I mean, in a lot of cases, sellers are going to be following similar keyword trends to what the buyer is. When they're going to want to sell their car, they're going to look for a place where cars are for sale. And in that case, it's important just to have links within your category listings to sell them in those places, and to add forms. But I believe that ad forms need to be pretty much as dynamic as a category listing. It needs to be. As you change the categories, your ad forms need to change in response to that, and the keyword structures need to be there. So if you putting an ad in for a Toyota Corolla, whatever, for sale, then the metadata on that page needs to match that. It needs to have those kind of keywords as sell a Toyota Corolla or whatever works in your marketplace, and that's really where the keyword research comes into it.
Great. I see we have a question from James. He's asking, what is the best way to optimize content for featured snippets, specifically for answering questions?
Yeah, I think that's more to do with content that you create, sort of blogging content, etc. And that's there's a lot of sort of technical spec and involving that. But it's firstly doing the research, finding out what are the questions that people are asking that would be relevant for you to be able to answer with your content, and then being able to writing content specifically for that. Put the question into the content, and then put an answer with it, and that's making sure that those are tagged up correctly. They've got are in the right H1s. Your page titles are set up correctly, and that will there's a really good chance that you're going to get yourself into a featured spot on Google. And I think it's important to kind of look out for those opportunities. Look at what kind of keywords you're ranking for already, what queries you're ranking for, and where you rank within the first page in Google for a specific query that would make a feature. Then set up that markup on your pages, and you've got a much better chance of featuring on the first spot.
Great, and I know that we are going to return to created content in a second. Before we do that, though, we have a little poll that we hope you guys listening in will answer to. It should pop up on your screen now. Basically, what we are asking is what percentage of your traffic at the moment is organic, and we want to see where you are at the moment, and then we will see what what Oliver is saying is kind of the optimal. I'm sure you have some opinions on that, and I will of course share this with you in a second. Let's see if I can share my screen. I can't share my screen. Yes, I can. Okay, so we have most of you have voted now. If you haven't, you have 1 second to to get it. I can see here, just in case it doesn't share on the screen, I can see that we have 42% of everyone who has voted say that 50% or more of their traffic is from organic. 42 actually, no, 44. So Oliver, what is that a good number? Where should you be really in terms of organic traffic?
Yeah, I think the average on the whole is around about 50% for an already optimized site. But there's no reason that it shouldn't be closer to 70 to 80%. That's really the target that you should be after. A lot of the sites that I've worked with in the past, I mean, that's the kind of volumes that you're looking at least 60 odd plus. 50% is a brilliant starting point. And it really depends a lot on the strategy. What is your spend on AdWords, etc. How much effort are you putting into social? But search is just really this massive potential in content from search or traffic from search. And I think aiming for a good 70 to 80% for an average marketplace is really is not out of reach.
Yeah, and I guess it depends, as you said, it depends as well on what type of audience you have, and where they're usually coming from, I guess. And I guess also the maturity of your platform, because in the beginning when you're building up a platform, a lot of it will be you actually going in and almost physically getting users, and then as you grow and grow, you want to have more and more of that traffic coming from organic, I guess.
No, for sure. And I think, yeah, I mean, a fair bit of organic also includes brand. So as you say, as you grow in reputation, users are going to be searching just for your brand name and navigating to your site through Google search, which is going to up your percentage for sure. And but I think, regardless, people are going to be looking for items, looking for goods that they want to sell, services that they need, and you need to be there and be present, to capture that moment as they're looking for that specific item.
We have quite a few questions about blogs, and actually that's where I was going to move next. So let me move there and then see if I can answer some of or if you can answer, not me, sure. Answer some of these questions. So blogging, obviously, as we have already established, is going to be very valuable for online marketplaces. How is that, and can you talk a little bit more around that?
No, sure. So I mean, the first step really is looking at your category lists and doing that kind of research. And as you're doing that research, you're going to see that there are going to be queries that are not going to necessarily match exactly into what you can put out into a query. And that's the content that you need as ideas for what you're going to put into a blog post. And I think that that's what really needs to drive your blogs is what is it that is coming out of search that you can't cater for in categories, and optimize your blog posts and write the content accordingly. I think there's space for sure for more entertainment type of content in blogging and writing about your site, etc., your features. But that's not really going to gain you the traffic in terms of what you need out of SEO. It's really it's about the keywords and doing matching that to content and writing content around that. Important thing with Google is writing for the user, making sure it's relevant, good, solid content that the user is going to find valuable for whatever the query is. But finding those ideas initially, that's the keyword research.
I think you covered some of the questions with that actually, but Shane has a question about when you have a blog on a subdomain, does the content on your blog have a positive influence on your actual site?
It can. That is, it's always been quite a debate, and I've always been in the past I've been in the favor of having it as a folder, as a slash blog. I think that will definitely give you the best power in terms of your sort of SEO value, attracting traffic. But lately I've become more of a fan of actually having it on a subdomain. And I think having it on a subdomain, it means that you can look at the blog individually. You don't need to look at it in totality with your sites. In general, what you put onto your blog then can be measured more effectively, and the traffic that you get out of that. I think you just need to make sure that you have the right sort of internal linking structure in your blog so that you can pass the traffic back into your main site. And I think at the end of the day, you're able to measure what you do a lot more effectively by having blog on a subdomain away from your original site.
That's great. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about measuring and KPIs in a second, but first, online marketplaces survive on user-generated content. That's kind of the basis of them. Most of this content is going to contain some sort of text that you cannot control. It's the users are actually putting it in, and that's obviously, I guess, going to be a frustration for most of the people attending here because you want to optimize. Is there a way to utilize the UGC in a way that actually helps SEO as well?
No, I mean definitely. I mean, as it is, I mean the sheer volume of the content that one brings in from user-generated activity is huge. I mean, if that's optimized, but is indexed correctly, you're going to be able to bring in the traffic. But as you're saying, there's just you got no real control over that content, and you don't really want to have control of it. It's what the titles and the descriptions that users put in are brilliant. I mean, that tends to be the same things that people are searching for, and that's what you want out there. You want Google to index, but it brings with it challenges. I mean, there's always duplicate content that comes into sites. In the contents of Pseudo, sort of scamming. What's happening, quality. Google has been talking a lot about what's going on with quality. I mean, they haven't come out and said if you moderate your site, you're going to rank higher. But I think it's pretty much implied with everything that they do. Having best quality content on your site is what's going to help you rank more. And with that. You need some kind of moderation. It's not a matter of proofreading and checking the content that users put in and making corrections, etc. It's about clearing out the content that's not right. When you've got scams that needs to be taken out, when you've got duplicate content that needs to be identified and merged back with the original content. Ideally you'd be able to merge it, to be able to kind of redirect to the original content URL, but where you can't, it's good just to clear that duplicates.
Yeah, that's great news for us, obviously. But that's because that's something we obviously work a lot with, and I know our clients agree that it's really important both for SEO, but obviously also for the user experience. So I'm sure that that everyone here are itching to start applying some of the advice that you have given, and some great advice. But before we kind of let everyone go, I think it's important that we talk about how you should track your efforts and how you measure whether or not your SEO optimization is actually working. So could you talk a little bit about what KPIs you should track and why?
Sure. I think it's about traffic in the first place, about volumes, and that's definitely knowing on one hand what are the UVs, the unique visitors that are coming into your site from search, but just as important really is how those users are converting and looking at the conversion rates. I think that's one of the kind of key important things with search engine optimization. It's not really all about volume. It's about catering for those users correctly and making sure that they go onto converts. So having those kind of metrics in place. You always want to look at at other metrics, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, bounce rates, etc., that you want to be able to measure and look at in some kind of detail. But yeah, the first steps for me really is UVs and conversion rates and what's happening, and being able to kind of track that effectively per channel, with search being top of the line for that.
Great.
Yeah.
Before we move on to questions from the audience, do you have any final advice that you want to share?
I think, yeah, for me, what I found most useful really is just using the tools that one gets out of Google. Talking a lot about Google, but they're still significant in the traffic that they can provide. I mean, they are. That's really what search engine optimization is all about. They provide some brilliant tools that we can use. Your search console is kind of top, obviously. Google Analytics fits in with the KPIs. But I think, one thing that I've learned is to look at Search Console specifically and follow the advice that one can get out of that, and the metrics that picks up on. It's that's right from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and there's really no better source of getting information on your site.
Great, thank you. So I'm having a little bit of technical issues here. I don't know what. Can you see my screen now? Yeah.
I do know. Yes.
Great. So we have a couple of questions, and feel free if you haven't already to send in more questions. So first of all, I promised in the beginning that we would talk about specific cases that you guys are struggling with. If you haven't had a chance, or you come up with something, you can send it in now. We'll see if we have time to discuss it. But just quickly, we have one. I see. If you're struggling, they seem to be struggling to rank to get in sellers. I think we touched on this briefly before, but is that something you can just expand a little bit upon, how you can do that better, some tips?
Sure. I think, as I was saying before, it's really looking at the keywords that sellers are using, making sure that the forms that you have the ad forms are optimized for those kind of queries. It's not going to be identical to what a user looking to buy something is going to be after. Having sort of sell type keywords onto those forms and into the meta tags, etc. There is really very important. And beyond that, it's also in the content that you write, but also across the user-generated content in your category lists. Have the right links that go back into your set of forms, and make sure that those are presented in ways that users can identify it quickly and get there. I think that's what's key. I mean, that's how you're going to be bringing in that kind of ad content.
Great. We have two more questions I want to just touch upon before we hang up.
Sure.
First, there was regarding, Randy is asking regarding content for consumers. I find videos to be the highest quality content. Should I be making video versions of written content, and how should I optimize the video content?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for the content that you write, that you create yourself in your blog, it makes perfect sense to make video content out of that. I don't, optimizing it. I think it's a matter of putting it into your blog post, having links to the video. I think if you can do it on your own platform, that's great. But it's if you need to use YouTube, put in links to YouTube as well. But I think it's just identifying that as a video. This is a video to click on to watch. That Google is going to identify by itself pretty easily, and it's going to highlight that in search. But video, for sure, it's the way to go with content. The more video you can put out there, but it needs to be constructive video. It needs to sort of talk to what the user is looking for.
So just on that, do you recommend actually uploading to YouTube, or can you use any of the video, Vimeo, or even, I guess, Facebook as live streaming? But to rank in Google, I guess it makes sense that YouTube is the go-to tool.
Well, it's It can be the go-to tool for sure. I mean, I think really the first prize is having it on your site as well, having it hosting the video yourself if you can. Beyond that, I don't think it doesn't really matter too much whether it's from Vimeo or where the video is hosted, as long as there's a link to the video and Google can identify it as a video. It likes. There's a lot of traffic on YouTube as it is, so having a video hosted there and being able to bring in the traffic from those YouTube users, that's great in itself. But I think from SEO point of view and what's ranking on Google, that it doesn't really matter whether it's hosted on YouTube or any other site.
Great. We're getting a lot of questions right now. It's awesome, guys. You're flooding us with questions, which is amazing. I think we're a little bit over time, but we have time for 2 more maybe. And then I think what we will do is we will try to answer some of the questions either in a blog post or otherwise, and answer them that way, because now we won't be able to get through everything that's coming in, which is great. It's a luxury problem. But yeah. 2 questions more. Pius is asking, sorry if I didn't say your name correctly, by the way, how does duplicate title and description hinder SEO?
Yeah, I think with that, what you need to do is try and find a way to uniquely identify each header. Put in the ad ID or some other identifying unit so that Google knows that they are different. Google is going to rank. It's going to rank the item which matches the user query best, and where it can see that there is interaction on it, where users have actually followed through and have kind of click through completed tasks on that page, etc. But in terms of just having the content out there and indexing it, just make it as unique as you possibly can. And as I say, I think the easy way is putting in an ad title, maybe adding in a bit of a category name, etc. Just making those titles as unique as you can. That's all Google really wants you to do, is having a unique URL with a unique title as much as it can be for every piece of content that you have.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, what he was getting at is how is it actually being a negative effect on your SEO? But you kind of answered that there as well. Google wants it to be a unique URL. It wants it to be unique content in general. So one more question I promised: how to break through the #1 ranking of a competitor? Both of the sites, I think, seems to be, Dimitri, you must correct me if I'm wrong, both of the sites seems to be on par in terms of SEO and content, but they do not have a chance to jump ahead of the other of the competitor, if I understand this question correctly. So how would you kind of do that, win the top spot?
Yeah, it is a tough question. Yeah, I think if kind of knew the answer to that, we'll be multi-billionaires by now. But no, I think it's just getting making sure you've got the fundamentals right on your content. Yeah, links I think still definitely play a role with Google. So if you can get an authoritative site out there to link to your content, that's brilliant. It's gonna help you. But I think the first step really is just making sure that you've got all the fundamentals covered. That you've got that page as best optimized as you can. I mean I think there is no real quick easy answer. It's really a matter of analyzing and looking what it is that your competitors are doing and what are you doing, and really finding a way of doing it better. I mean, it's possible for sure. I mean, there's always ways to outrank a competitor. You just need to be a bit more creative about it.
And I guess, I mean, you said already lots of backlinks, but also Google really likes activity, right? So if we go back to blog content, if you blog on an ongoing basis around topics that are relevant, that might also help. Or otherwise, they have to reach out to you, and you can go in and analyze the site and help them out, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously I'd love to do that, but yeah, I think it's a lot of hard work, really just going in there and analyzing and seeing what it is that's going on with that specific page.
Yeah. Great. We are quite a lot over time. I just want to say we're going to look through the questions and we're going to see if we can answer them, as I said, in some way, shape, or form. There's a lot, so we might not get to everyone. There was one question that came up a couple of times, though, about what keyword tool that you prefer, and that is actually in the SEO checklist that we will send out. A couple of examples, at least. So that will be answered in that one, and you should get that right after this webinar closes, or in the hours to come. So you can at least get the answer there, and there might also be answers to some of the other really great questions that you have sent through. So thank you so much for participating, and I'm slightly overwhelmed trying to look. I think actually that was what happened with my computer when I had technical issues, that there was just too many questions coming in at once. It started slowing down. So just to finalize this, if you want to get in touch with any of us, you can reach out to Oliver at oliverwinberg@gmail.com, and you can reach me at sigridzeuthen@besedo.com, or you can go to our website and fill out a form if you want to talk to someone about our solutions instead, because there, even though I of course know what we're doing, I might not be the best person to talk to you about your specific needs. So either way, whatever you like, I can also pass you on to someone who knows what they're talking about. Thank you so much for attending today. It was great to see so many people actually show up, and really exciting and fun when we started getting a lot of questions. So these webinars are always a lot more fun when we have interaction, I think. So thank you so much, and as I said, we will be in touch with you all with a follow-up email after this call. Thank you for joining us as well, Oliver. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Sigrid. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.